Just when most of us look at US politics and shake our heads, we despair at the hatred, the lawfare, the focus on vitriol over substance, on personal attacks over policy. Well, just when most of us are wondering if US politics can sink any lower, the Albanese Labor government is trying to turn our politics in the same direction. The Prime Minister and his senior ministers are Americanising Australian politics. They can't defend their policies, they can't deliver on their promises, so they're turning to ugly personal attacks on Peter Dutton. Dutton is dangerous, screams the headline in The Australian today, based on a speech overnight by the Treasurer.
He is the most divisive leader of a major political party in Australia's modern history. And not by accident, but by choice. At a time when most sane people see political divisiveness around the world and want to reject it, he wants to embrace it. It's the only plank in his political platform. He divides deliberately, almost pathologically. And this is worse than disappointing. It's dangerous.
Yeah, and the lefty audience laps it up, of course. Just have a look at what's going on here. Labor promised to ease the cost of living squeeze, and they haven't. They promised to kill off inflation and force interest rates down, and they haven't. They promised to cut our electricity bills by $275 a year, and they haven't done that. They've increased the bills by about twice as much as the promised cut. And Labor's so-called transition to renewable energy is a mess, taking longer, costing more, leaving us short of power. So what do? They play the man.
He continually looks to pretend that he's so strong, but nastiness is not strength. Nastiness is not strength.
And he's got form. He's got form on trying to divide the Australian community.
And he launched this negative, nasty, dog-whistling scare campaign.
We want politics to be part of the mainstream. We don't want a divisive Prime Minister, which is what Peter Dutton would be.
You know, the path that Peter Dutton wants for Australia is the more divisive path.
Look, on one level, you can understand this in cold, hard political terms. I mean, it was the personal attacks, largely based on falsehoods perpetrated by Labor, the Greens and the Teals and the media about the Brittany Higgins affair that saw Labor bring down Scott Morrison, even though less than a third of people gave Labor their primary vote. So Labor is now expanding on that tactic early, borrowing the hatred and personal attacks of American politics in the lead up to our election.
Our job as leaders is to heal divisions in our society. Dutton wants to pick at them and prey on them for political advantage. And as we saw last week in the Parliament, his dog whistle only plays one note.
But maybe it won't work this time. Maybe voters are awake to these desperate tactics. You see, Labor's largely trying to base these attacks on the Gaza visa issue. And a poll published in The Guardian today, no less, the leftist Guardian, well, it found that only 30% of voters agree with Labor over its Gaza visa weakness, while 44% support Dutton's firm approach and more than a quarter are yet to make up their minds. Yeah, perhaps a common sense approach on border security and immigration kind of appeals to, you know, people's common sense. But this bile from Labor won't go away. They've decided clearly that this is their path to retaining power. Because it can't be the cost of living, of course, and it can't be economic management. It can't be managing border security and immigration, and it most certainly can't be delivering reliable, affordable power. So Operation Get ScoMo has now become Get Dutton, which kind of gives the lie to this.
We want to change the tone of politics in this country. We want to be more inclusive. We want to make sure there's less shouting and more delivery.
Yeah, don't listen to what they say, just have a look at what they do.